My girls, look at that. That's
Welcome,
crazy.
everybody, to the episode of Sicilian Queens. Lena and I are so super excited. You've got no idea who we've got for you today. This man is coming all the way from California with his wife. His name is Michael Cavillieri, and he is an American born with Sicilian roots.
Absolutely.
We have amazing story to tell you, but he's going to tell you all about himself. So I introduce you, Michael Cavillieri.
Salud. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you.
Grazie, Michael.
From Los Angeles, Sicilian forever.
Amen. Woo!
O pelo russo per sempre, eh?
Absolutely. All right, what do we have?
So you tell us a little bit about yourself, Michael, how you started. People don't know that you're actually an actor, so you tell us a little bit how your journey started, and we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll go into the rest into the next few episodes.
Okay, great. So I was born and raised in New York City, in Queens, New York. I spent a little time in the Bronx. Had a wonderful childhood. My mother was my hero, Mary, my life, my soul. I might cry here and there if I talk about it.
Oh, no, you go for it. I'll get some tissues myself.
Yeah. My dad, Louis. I have family back East Coast, my brother Gary. My sisters passed away. My sister Laura. I was working on Wall Street when I was 19 years old, taking the trains to the city dressed in a suit, working the night shift. And a gentleman who was sitting next to me says to me, you got a good look. He goes, and he gives me his card. I'm like, what's this? He goes, I'm an agent. I said, really? Da-da-da. We talked a bit, and I didn't think about it for a couple of weeks until I was really miserable at this job. So I pulled the card out of my jacket. I said, well, maybe I should call this guy. So I did. And I went into the city, and he was working at a place called J. Michael Bloom, which is a very, very prestigious theatrical agency. And his name was Chip. He's since passed on, too. And I went into his office, and he said, read this for me. And I'm like, read what? He's like, read this here. And he slides the paper across to me. I'm like, I don't know what this is. He goes, just read it. Just read it. Be natural. So I read it. And he goes, you're a natural. I said, I'm not sure what that means. He goes, you got talent. You got a great look. He goes, I want to represent you. I'm like, all right. So the first audition he sent me, I got a soap opera. A small part. It was like a recurring part on the soap opera, playing a little bad boy for about 6 weeks. And then he said to me, he goes, I'm moving to California. He goes, you should come. And I'm like, wow, I don't know. But what am I doing in New York? I went to California with this guy who I hardly knew. And
wow.
I met another actor, and we stayed at his house, and an actor that they were both, a friend of his was managing. And long story short, after my second audition, I got a movie called Book of Love, a small part. Played Greaser in 1950, and then I got the call. My mother was very sick. She had lung cancer, and I needed to go back to New York. And there started my journey of my soul. And the heart-wrenching and the moments. So
may I ask you a question? Where is your mother from? Which part of Sicily?
My mother's Sicilian. My mother's from Sicily, from Limina, Sicily, in Messina, in the province of Messina. And yes, and my grandfather.
I'm not from there, but I resonate with the name.
You're from Catania.
You must be somewhere from there. You're got Messina's your surname.
You're there now. You're with
I'm
me.
There
you're
now. I'm there
exactly.
now.
And my mom was.
Let me just zoom in on you. Oh, you're bello picciottos, eh? Can understand why? I couldn't see. Okay. So I've got a few questions.
Okay.
You said you played a bad boy in a soap opera. What soap opera?
As the World Turns? Long time ago.
Really?
Many years, many moons ago.
We used to wag school to watch that.
I was a bad boy. I always get cast as a bad boy for some reason. I don't know why. I don't understand that.
What is that? What is the bad boy?
You know, Lena, I got to be honest. It's it's really difficult to explain. But when even my wife says it, when I walk into a room, there's something about my face that says something, and I'm right, honey.
It's edge. You have the edge.
I get an edge, and I'm so nice, and I'm so not what people think, and it's like it's so hard to try to, you know. So
Yeah.
it's just it's a thing. It's something you have. There's a little danger, maybe.
It's
I
the
guess.
Sicilian in you, mafioso.
There you go. There you go.
Il fogo.
I think so.
Fire of Nanetna.
Yeah, exactly. When I went to Italy the first time, it was actually in Naples,
Oh.
and I was doing a movie with a huge star in Italy, and we were playing brothers, and we went to the Naples Film Festival.
Are you going to tell us who the guy
Don't
is?
tell us. You can't just.
He's from Australia, actually. He's from Australia. He's from Adelaide, Australia.
Anthony LaPaglia.
No. Marco
He's
Leonardi.
a bad boy.
He's a bad
Marco
boy.
Leonardi. Marco's from Cinema Paradiso. Played the young boy in Cinema.
Of course. Yes.
Yeah. We played brothers in a movie, and we went to Naples to show the film, and they went crazy, and they went crazy for me, but I don't speak fluently, right? So all they did was grab my face, grab my face, and I'm thinking, wow. So everywhere I go, especially now in Sicily, they grab my face, so it must be the roots, whatever it is, but it's the Italian look. That's the edge.
I find that it is the roots, that because you go back and there's something about you that actually is ancient. You haven't you haven't changed with the times like the Sicilians have. You come with you an era of your grandparents and your mother with the dialect that they brought in. So you're a different breed. You're a different cut than them. But there's something about you that's different.
You can't
It's
hide
funny,
the underlying. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Lena. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'll answer her. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You can't hide the core of who you are. And it resonates through your cells, and it empowers you, and it creates this, or even the aura about somebody. There is an aura that resonates that is invisible. It's a thread that links you to where you've been in your heritage. And
well, my whole life, you know, after, you know, I'll share you a little bit more. I lost my mom when I was 23.
Oh, that's
when I went back, and my father was in jail, in prison at the time. And I lost my sister. I lost my father then after a few years, and then I lost my sister. So, and then I lost my grandfather.
How did you process? Oh, stop.
Well, that's it.
Stop.
That's
Go. Tell us that if you're able to tell us, share that.
Yeah, sure. Well, that's where everything was born for me. It was like, you know, I was very close to my mom, but I'm an old soul, and I've always have been since I'm young. And I looked at things differently than a lot of people. I was a great athlete, actually. I was one of the best athletes in my town and stuff, and went to college, played football, full scholarship, the whole thing. And I always was passionate about anything I picked up. I was passionate, soulful, and went for everything. When I lost everybody, and I was in LA, I was lost for a long time, trying to figure it out. It ripped my heart out. And I went to church quite a bit. And I struggled with it, but I tried to figure it out, but I couldn't express it. It was hard to express. Finally, as I got a bit older, I started to write. And this story.
I ask you, how did you process this?
Process the feelings, or process the
grief?
I work out quite a bit. It helped me, inspired me it helped me emotionally to get things out. And also I remember I did a film when I came back. If you know the movie, The Green Book.
Yes.
My friend Nick wrote that. He directed a film I starred in for him.
Everyone.
His name dropping, Carmel. I'm blown away. I didn't expect.
No, but Nick is somebody I know way back. I haven't seen him in a long time, but we shot a film together. And it was very raw. It was a very raw experience, and it was a lot of very emotional for me. So it was a great place for me to come back to after losing my mom. And I was able to, in that film, to emote, and I was raw. I was like just, in the film, I was letting go and letting go and letting go. So that really was therapeutic for me. And then after losing my father, I did a movie called The Stonecutter. It was really weird.
I've heard. I haven't had the privilege to watch it yet.
It's a beautiful film. It's a beautiful film. And I never forget. I was I got a call from my manager, Michael. They want to see you for this movie. They just fired the lead actor. He goes, and the casting director thinks you're the only guy who can play the part. I'm like, really? Send me the script. You never hear that, right? You know, it's hard enough to get a job once a year, whatever. So I said, send me the script. So he sent me the script, and it was very, very much like my life. Oh. And it was about a father dying of cancer, and his son and him are struggling and don't see eye to eye.
No, it's funny. Hang on a minute. It's funny how the universe sets you into places.
Sure. Yeah.
For you to deal with certain things. Like, you're just giving me, and I can feel the slot in every puzzle going like that. Go on.
And it gets even more strange.
Can I just interject for a moment?
Sure.
I'm having one of those moments now, just listening to the both of you, because I'm stepping back, because my father died of lung cancer. And when he passed
Don't read my script.
When he passed away, just before he passed away, a nurse was walking past his bedroom door, and I was talking to him in Sicilian, and the nurse came in, and she understood the language, and she said, and I said to her, I promise my father, which is what I've just done, is if the last thing that I do is I promise him that I will take my children, Laura and Dante, and I'll make sure that their children also know where my father and my mother are from.
Beautiful.
And I promise that to you, Papa. Do you know my father was in a coma? He lifted up his hand and he shook it. And how is that possible?
Because they hear you. They hear you. They feel you.
And he did it. He had the strength. It was his last day of life. He was knocked out all that week, and yet he had the strength at that moment to tell me that he would acknowledge that. And when my children rode into Militello, which is his hometown, Provincia di Catania.
I've been there.
It's a beautiful place, isn't it? Yep. And that's Pippo Baudo territory, actually. He's like the Bergman. He's like the
Militello.
Yeah. No, Militello's Provincia di Catania. It's more it's near Scordia. There's 2 Militellos.
You're talking about Sant'Agata di Militello. That's on the train ride going to.
Yeah. So when my children rode in separately, because they were there at separate times, but on the same day, they came in separately into Militello, they FaceTimed me. And all I wanted to do was scream to the universe and tell my father, I promised you this would happen.
He was there, Lena. He was there.
And that's what you've done. And that's the story. Your conversation has just resonated that experience for me. So I want to say thank you.
Well, you better watch when you see my movie, you're going to be crying because it's your life. So it's your life, because getting back to the process of it, Carmela, I was trying to figure it out. You know, I'm not a big social person. I really don't like I don't really socialize well. I don't really care. I'm kind of a loner, and I don't really like Hollywood. So I was struggling with the way that they perceived everything. And so I said to myself, I want to do something for myself.
Yeah.
So when I met my wife, I said, the first year I said, we'll go to Italy. And I showed her, you know, the touristy parts, whatever. And then I had this burning to go back and see my grandfather and see what he was about.
So your grandfather was still in Sicily?
My grandfather was passed on many years, but I wanted to go back. Like Lena said, I promised. My movie Ritornato is a promise to my mother that I'll go back to my grandfather's grave.
Oh.
And so anyways, the funny part of this thing was, I didn't know anything about the town other than Limina, the name. That's all I knew. I was the youngest of all the kids in the family. He had 9 kids, Agatino, Alabrandi. And I started writing. I went there, and I was with a translator. I said, Vincenzo, take me to, I was in Taormina. I said, take me to Limina. He's like, Limina? Nobody goes to Limina. I said, we go to Limina. He goes, why? I said, because my grandfather's from there. That's where we're going. He goes, okay. And we drove, 45 minutes up a hill. My wife's getting nauseous. She can't handle it. There's sheep everywhere. And we land and we see the sign Limina. And I got out of the car and I started crying. I just went up to the sign. I put both my hands on the sign. It's right here, Limina, right there behind. I'll show it to you. It says Limina. That's the name of the town. And
Want the sign?
no, I'll show it. And I put both hands on it and I broke out in tears. And I said to myself, I never felt so at home as in this particular moment.
Can we just stop? Can we just stop?
Sure.
To every Sicilian migrant child, this happens.
Mm-hmm.
You enter into where your ancestors belong, and this is what happens. It's like the ground and the earth welcomes you.
Yeah, it sucked me right in, let me tell you, big time.
Yep. I was 20 when I went back. I was 10 when I went back first, my mum's town. Didn't really, 10 years old, you don't know much. But at 20, I was still not very spiritual or understanding much about life. Went through a bad divorce with 2 children and ended up going and staying in Sicily for a year. But in that year, it was like an opening. But then I went back in my later years and the connection was stronger and deeper. Sure. But it's like for you, myself and Lena and all children of migrants, there's a missing piece in us. Yeah. Always has been. We never fitted. We never belonged. We never were part of anything. Yeah. But the minute we enter back into our terra madre, motherland, ancestral place, there's something that happens to us children of migrants that words cannot even describe.
Right.
It's a connection that it is beyond. It's like the socket set of the electrical cord.
Yeah.
And all of
I got electric shock. I'm in trouble. I got electric shock.
Yeah.
My hair was sticking straight up. I was in trouble.
So go back to.
Can I ask you? Can I interrupt then? Is that because of growing up and being those racist allegations while you're growing up at a very young age, and you feel that you don't belong? Like, I know growing up in Australia, although the area I grew up with in the northern suburbs was very multicultural and is very rich with Italian, not only Italian migrants, but Sicilian migrants, but I was teased a lot, and that was because of our diet, because of our social lifestyles, our family units and our passion for that unity. Do you think it was because we were discriminated against, that we didn't feel that we belonged as such? Not that there was too much of a distance, but there was a little bit of, I'm not from here, there's something different. Why am I in this particular arena where I'm disassociated with my friends or some of my friends? Yet when you get home, there's like the air swallows you up and your heart grows and swells, and then you feel that sense of belonging and understanding of who you are, the core of who you are, and where your mother and father's values came from. Do you think it's got something to do with that, or is it something that's intuitive within us?
I think honestly, for me personally, it was my mother.
Yeah.
She laid the groundwork for everything. Yeah. My mom was like and my grandfather. My story is about my mother and my grandfather.
So they were your saviors.
Yeah, like the conversations I had with Grandpa when I was, doing tomatoes with him, and things he used to say to me, and then my relationship with my mother, and how we were. And I think in my whole life, it's carried me through my whole life. Everything I do, I think of her, I respect her, I honor her all the time. I try my best to be that kind of person. And I think what surprises a lot of people, and I think they don't understand me, is that I don't care what other people think.
Oh, me too.
Could care less. So when I was on my journey to Sicily, let's just take, for example, I wanted to shoot this movie in Sicily. Everybody's like, you're crazy. You're not going to do that. You're nuts. You're not going to make any money. I said, not about money. It's about the soul. It's about the heart. It's something deep in me that has to be done. So just for a quick second to process it, when I went the first time to Sicily and I had the experience and I met a family that I didn't even know existed. I met my grandfather's brother, who I didn't even know was there. So when you see the movie, you'll understand. But I drove into the Municipio. We went into, and all of a sudden I hear Alabrandi, and the whole town is in the Municipio. And this guy says, "We know everything. Come with us. Come with me." I'm like looking at this guy like he's crazy. Anyway, long story short, I walk into the cafe. I see a man crying. He's got glasses, bald, and he's dressed really sharp. But you can see he's very ill. He's got a cane, and he's crying hysterical. And I was paralyzed for a moment. I'm looking at him. I'm like, why is he crying? So when I sat next to him, he just looked at me and cried and couldn't speak. He was mumbling. And then he was mumbling to the other guy in Sicilian. I didn't understand. So my translator's trying to figure out what they're saying. Long story short, after an hour or so of trying to figure it out, we realized that the story is that he's my grandfather's brother. Anyway.
Can you imagine what he felt? He probably saw his brother in you.
Unbelievable.
Decades
and the first
later.
And he says to me, we went to see my grandfather's house and we went to the cemetery, and it's in the movie. My cousin says to me, Turi, he says, I always knew that there was somebody, we had people in America, but I didn't think they would come today.
I knew they would come.
I knew they would come today. I didn't think they would come today. I'm on the nudge. So he's the only one who speaks English in that town. There's only 700 people.
Your cousin Turiddu.
Salvatore, Turiddu.
So he's the only one. It's funny. And he was not supposed to be there that morning. He was supposed to be doing something else. He happened to be there because he was doing fish. And the whole thing, anyway, long story short, that's how the movie was born. And then putting together my feelings of my mom, I needed a place to take those, to process those feelings that I always had. Those deep, deep, deep rooted feelings that I felt that were never being used in things that I wanted to use them for.
So can we just stop there for a minute?
Sure.
So we're going to go to the next episode and we're going to talk about your film, Ritornato.
Okay.
I just want to, before we do that, I just wanted to mention, you said a really critical sentence in there, and that was that you want to express your craft to talk about the love you have for your mother and for your country. And I find that we've got so many talented Sicilian songwriters.
Well, yeah.
Not only actors, but songwriters and musicians around the world.
Sure.
And artists. And through their artistic talents, they resonate and they talk about their love. And sometimes, and I've got a friend of mine, Giorgio, who is a songwriter, and he talks about his expressive talents in the love he has for Sicily or the love he has for life. And I think we do that really well. And I really would like to know, I really like to understand the psychology of it. And perhaps it's because we were dominated by so many different regions that we have this battle to raise our voice, and we do that perhaps through artistic talentry. But it's another conversation, but I'll stop there. But I just wanted to say that because I think that's what I get from yourself. That's what your soul is telling me. So thank you for exploring that with us. And I think we better close this episode and on to the next. Carmela, over to you, Bella.
Thank you, Michael, for sharing your story with us. It's absolutely, as you share your journey, I think that we all connect with you because we've all got little bits and pieces of the same kind of story. We're all brothers and sisters of the same mother. Sicily is our mother.
Absolutely.
La madre nostra è Sicilia.
So the next episode, we're going to talk about your film. So thank you, everybody, for listening to us. Stay tuned. Grab your glasses for the next episode because we're not finished yet. And thank you for listening to us for this episode. See you in the next one. Bye.
Ciao.